A ranking music video, and we're up to 2007 now for my top 10. I went through the list that I have access to on the computer, and the total was an amazing 105 albums released in that year. So not so easy choosing 10, and before we get on to those 10, I want to mention a few honourable mentions. Wincing the Night Away by the Shins, a band. This one started me off on an interest in this American indie rock band. Really nice, sort of mellow rock style with ballads thrown in. I like this album. Freedom's Road, another strong release from John Mellencamp. That sort of Midwest sort of sound, very sort of influenced by country, blues and folk Americana style, and John's vocals excellent. Chrome Dream 2 by Neil Young. This one I really took to. There's some strong tracks on this, well worth a listen. Shine, the first release for a number of years from Joni Mitchell, takes a little bit of getting into, but there's still a lot of quality here, although some of the tracks go on a bit. Made in Dhaka by the is that right? Senegalese band Orchestral Baobab. I really like this laid back African sort of funky sort of, not reggae really, but it's very guitar orientated. And the final one, Long Road Out of Eden, an album by the Eagles that has been heavily criticised. It was a double album and it probably should have been a single. But there's some delightful material on this, new material, and it was the last released by the band, albeit that it was a long time after its predecessor. So those are the honourable mentions. This top 10 then. At number 10, Magic by Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. I find this album very captivating. It wasn't that well received. Of course, it followed on the awesome The Rising post 9/11, and then, of course, his playful appreciation of Pete Seeger, which was a novelty record, which in part I like, but doesn't stand the lengthy test of listening to it all. So to Magic, there's some great tracks on here. Living in the Future is a revisiting 10th Avenue Freeze Out from Born to Run. Very sort of guitar driven, loud and angry, some of these tracks, particularly Radio Nowhere, which was a single, really is at a ferocious pace. This just shows how solid the E Street Band are. Gypsy Biker, it's a song about the homecoming of a war veteran. And continuing the political theme, Springsteen's other war track, Last to Die, is somewhat more punishing to listen to, because this time the war veteran is returning home in a coffin, and of course we're talking about the Iraq-Afghan wars. Awesome record. Very nostalgic. Clemens is definitely hot, and the standout track, which I'm going to mention now, is Devil's Arcade, which is a simply chilling and moving 7-minute opus. Get to listen to it. It's called Magic by Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, and it's my number 10. 9 is Neon Bible by the Canadian band Arcade Fire. This was in fact their second album, their sophomore release. Came 2.5 years after their debut, Funeral, which I liked. This is very much on a par with that. Attracted to this band and this album because some of the songs sounded like other artists that I liked. One in particular, Echo and the Bunnymen, Keep the Car Running. It really does sound like that English-based band. Also, they have a sort of studio presence, and with the church-like organ prominent on a number of tracks, it presents as a powerful listen. Oceans of Noise is a particularly solid, slower track. Haunting Grandoise message on this one, and there's also a sort of Morricone movie score feel to it, but unfortunately it's probably going to die a death over time, but it still holds good for me at the moment. It's at number 9. 2-8 then, and this is the 26th studio album by Prince called Planet Earth. This one was put inside a newspaper, the Daily Mail in the UK, which catapulted its sales 3 million just on that day, July the 15th. He's still very innovative on this, and particularly obviously with the distribution. We have the Funk Jam from Chelsea Rogers, which I love. Disposable pop rock, you might say, the one you want to see. Then there's Lion of Judah, which has a spiffy sort of guitar solo. And Future Baby Mama and Somewhere Here on Earth revisit the smooth R&B side of Prince. And then Guitar is his post-punk revival, and he takes a swipe at the Edge's guitar riff from U2. I think it's great. Many people thought it was rubbish. You listen and you decide. Number 7 then, Out of the Woods by Tracey Thorn. I loved her work with her husband Ben Watt on Everything But the Girl. Numerous albums. I could sit on any sort of Sunday afternoon and wallow in the sort of sounds that make you feel snug. Out of the Woods once again draws on folk rock, a bit of house, down tempo, synth pop has come more to the forefront on Tracey's work, but it's a very mellow melodic album, and it switches down from that stripped down folk inspired material to down tempo pop, and it's got a very up-to-date production, which is designed really for your home, and of course if you're in the club wanting to get up and have a dance. This is her first release since 1999. Children got in the way, bringing them up, of course. Some great tracks. Tracks then, Here It Comes Again. Nice string-filled ballad over the violin. A to Z, the lush bass washes over the sound of waves. It symbolises the ill treatment of an outsider through bullying, and that person seeking refuge in the bright lights of London with the A to Z guide. Get Around to It is a disco pop, lengthy one. You can certainly get into dance here with soul-fueled vocals. It's flirtatious with the electronica, which percolates with her vocals, and nice skippy horns as well. And then Hands Up to the Ceiling, thanks to previous musical heroes and heroines from the 80s and further back. Number 6, Raising Sand. This caught the music world by surprise, a sort of collaboration between the ancient Robert Plant, that lead singer and rocker from a band, can you remember them? Oh yeah, Led Zeppelin back in the late 60s. And he teamed up with bluegrass legend Alison Krauss. It worked a treat. It sold lots. I love it as well. The blues folk Americana with a country edge typified by the opener Rich Woman. Great minimalist production by one T-Bone Burnett. Killing the Blues is an absolute gem with pedal steel wrapping its sound right around the duet singing. It's very cosy. And Alison at the helm for Sister Rosetta, which blends in the violin and creates that feeling of what it was like to be in the Depression. This is a very strong piece of work. Raising Sand by Robert Plant and Alison Krauss. So to number 5, and this is My Name is Buddy by Ry Cooder. He's taken us back to the 30s now, to the Dust Bowl, the Great Depression, the songs, folk tales, very political as always, with his blunt sense of humour. The highlights, Strike, were self-explanatory, but I love the harmonica and Jew's harp that married together on this stripped-back country blues. Then there's J. Edgar, portrayal of the FBI leader. It's a song about a pig bearing his name, woohoo, and Footprints in the Snow. Lots of Mexican umpa in here with accordion from his stable companion on a lot of his albums, Flaco Jimenez, and the fiddle guarantees a fun time. It's a beautiful release, and it's My Name is Buddy, and it was part of a trilogy of albums. This was the middle one that Ride did, highlighting the lives of the poor and disadvantaged in America. R24 then, Memory Almost Full by Paul McCartney. It's got quite a Wings-like feel to it. It's very much a band album rather than a solo album, but it contains a lot of guitar. It's got a mixture of pop rock and sort of those ballads, and it's got some great arrangements on it. Although it's got a band feel, most of the work was played by McCartney, and there are short tracks, under 4 minutes. Some of the standouts. Well, I've got to say, House of Wax is a particular favourite of mine. This one does go beyond the 4, and it's a standard rock song with some beautiful guitar on it. Mr. Bellamy is a typical McCartney character-led song, absolutely adorable. It's got that music hall jaunt about it. Vintage Clothes, another impressive song. And then, of course, the single that came out was also very good. That Was Me. Very catchy and hit-like. It becomes a little bit melancholic towards the end with a song called The End Is the End. Very much an acknowledgement of pending mortality. But the best from McCartney for some time, better than Chaos, although I love that one as well. So it's at number 4. 3, then Jinjin by Angelica Kidjo, the Beninese diva. As you know, if you've been listening to my ranking videos, she pops up virtually on every release. This is very much built on the Beninese music rhythms of her youth, but she puts on top of that rhythm undercurrent the influence that from around the world. The songs are mostly original, but there are a couple of covers, one by Sade and another by the Rolling Stones, and there's a remarkable version of Rabel's Bolero, funky and African style. It's very much world music fusion. The guests are very diverse. Carl Santana is heard on the Sade track Pearls. Peter Gabriel, he sings on Salala. Most of these are in duet, of course. It's celebrating birth and life. Alicia Keys and Joss Stone also chip in, sharing vocals. Joss Stone sings the Rolling Stones song, Give Me Shelter. It's got a very creative blend of American and rock influence. And then we got Ziggy Marley, African reggae, what else? And jazz saxophonist Bradford Marsalis, he gets in on the act. And there's Josh Groban, a classical styled vocalist who's also heard. It's a very diverse collection, this is for sure. The title track is also a standout, featuring Keys and Marcellus. It was produced by veteran producer Tony Visconti, and it was nominated for a Grammy in the Best Contemporary World Music Album for 2007. There you have it. Jinjin, Angelica Kidjo. 2 on the 2007 top 10. This is Sweet Warrior. This is the 12th album by Richard Thompson, self-financed by Thompson, and melancholia ties the whole album together. It's a very cohesive and focused work, and of course Thompson's narrative skill and gift for wordplay is as good as ever. This album takes a few listens to get into, but you can't help but be impressed by the talent of this man, and he's always got a very, very tight band. Needle and Thread opens up. It's a jaunty tight blues song with that spacey guitar lick. I'll Never Give It Up has a quicker tempo, a bit of a country rocker feel to it. Take Care the Road You Choose. This is folk blues, which he is a master. And Mr. Stupid, a very fun-loving story about an unfortunate foe. And there's some very good work by Thompson on guitar here. I could go through all the tracks, but I'm going to do a review for this one. Dad's Gonna Kill Me. This is a track about war, and it's got some chilling rhythms, rolling guitars, and it's about US military policies, and with reference, of course, to the war in Iraq. And it's very much to point, and he's certainly not an approval of what was going on at the time. So that's Sweet Warrior by Richard Thompson at number 2. Guessed it, the number 1 is In Rainbows by Radiohead. Now, I recently did a full album review of this, and the link will be in the description. It's their 7th. It was famous for being an album which they invited the public via the internet to pay what they feel they wanted to for the download. They were having problems with EMI, and it was their reboot, really. It's got a rhythmic palette of electronic sounds mixed in with rock elements, as you would expect. They challenge the listener, really, to grow and develop it with them, to appreciate 21st century music. The songs are very impactful. The strong ones, as far as I'm concerned, are Body Snatchers, Nude, which is a beautiful song, Jigsaw, Falling Into Place, and All I Need. A short summary of this number 1 album, as I say, because I've got a lengthy review. So that's my top 10 for 2007. We're still creeping towards the summit as we conclude 2021. Hope you enjoyed it.